All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Niner Family Huddle podcast. Took about a week off, and we're back, and we got a lot to talk about, which we will do right after this. All right, all right. I didn't get the Santa Claus hat memo. That's my bad.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Gotta be better.
Slacking.
Yeah.
I got to get one. Actually, I might have a hat somewhere, but it doesn't have a 49er logo on it. But
Yeah, Stevens is the best for sure.
where did you get that, by the way? Was that at a game or what?
You know what? I've had this for so long that I can't really remember, but it was probably like a team store purchase or something. Yeah.
So it's probably like $55 or something.
Maybe. Well, it might have been long ago that it wasn't that jacked up, but yes.
That's funny. That actually reminds me too. One of your topics you wanted to have in the off season was whether or not going to games was still like worth it, and we didn't go to a game this year,
I
so
know. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah. It was a
Anyway,
good season to not go to a game.
yeah, I thought about buying last minute tickets to the home game against the Seahawks, and it ended up obviously not being good weather, and the Niners lost, and their season kind of spiraled. And I'm glad I saved the money on that
It's
one.
funny because I had there's no way I could have done it, but I at least was tempted to look into Rams prices because it was a Thursday night game, and I heard that they weren't going for as much. Man, I would have been so disappointed to go to that game and get the rain dumped on you, and then see that performance.
Yeah, to see the nail in the coffin in person, that would have been a tough drive home.
Yeah,
The one game we were talking about maybe going to, the Bears game. Well, there's a few, but I think
Yeah.
the Bears were like the most serious. That game would have been a lot of fun. That's the game that my friend Eric did go to, and yeah, that game would have been fun.
we need Eric to go to more games. He was obviously the good luck charm. So Eric,
He could be like our correspondent in the
that's
field or
right.
whatever.
We'll get him a microphone and get him on the sideline.
Yeah. Come on, Eric.
All right, well, let's do some housekeeping notes here. I'm kind of tired of talking about this guy, but Devondre freaking Campbell. The Niners suspended him for 3 games, and he is not going to be able to sign with a contender and go play in the playoffs and potentially win a Super Bowl. He also played awful this year, so even if they did just cut him, our team's really going to go sign him. I don't know. Of course, there's the story about John Lynch coming down off the sideline to confront him and talk to him and kicked him off. I actually just heard a quote from John Lynch talking about it. He was saying how he could see from up in the box that there was players and coaches talking to him, trying to get him to go in, and he didn't want it to become a distraction. So he just said, "I'm going to go down there myself and see what's going on." And then once he realized that what was going on, he just told him to take a hike and hit the showers, as Coach Singletary once told Vernon Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any reaction to this? I mean, part of me kind of wishes that Kyle Shanahan was the guy to go over there and kick him off the field, but Kyle's coaching. He's probably got more things on his plate to worry about. I'm fine with John Lynch going over there and Hall of Fame safety, defensive guy. Get off my sideline, bro. I'm cool with that. Do you guys have a reaction at all?
Well, at first, I was thinking that he was planning on being a backup, but then at some point got his feelings hurt during the game. Like, it was kind of a split decision not to go in. But now that I've heard other people's takes, it sounds like it was legitimately like a thought out plan that he's like, I'm going to take this roster spot to screw them over. And then if Greenlaw or whatever, if they need someone, I'm going to refuse. It's going to screw them over. Do you guys know if that's true? That's kind of the gist of what I felt through the media, through different people. I think Sherman was talking about that. I thought that was really interesting.
I've seen a little bit of that speculation, yeah. I've also heard that maybe he was obviously not happy about getting sat down for Dre, but he kind of understood. But then he was also behind D Winters,
Yeah.
and once Dre went out, D went in, and that's when he was like, "All right, screw this."
Yeah.
I don't know. Mike Florio had a good point on PFT. He kind of said between social media and all the avenues for players to talk, if Devondre Campbell felt wronged and he wanted to get his side of the story out there, he could have done so by now and he hasn't, which
That's
makes me think
interesting.
that he knows he's in the wrong and he is bitter and he knows he looks bad and he's probably just like, whatever, screw it, and moving
I
on.
mean, the only people that are
Yeah.
gonna defend him or feel bad for him is like family and close friends. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine any players that are going to stand up on any team. I'm not just talking about the Niners. Like any team, they're going to stand up and say, "Yeah, way to take that stand, buddy." You know, like it just
Yeah.
looks bad. It like violates a fundamental code. And I think you're exactly right, Ryan, that it's because of the situation with Winters. What's funny is all season long, at least I'll speak for myself, have been like, man, I wish D Winters could stay healthy so we wouldn't have to have Campbell out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, me too.
So it's yeah, funny that he felt slighted by somebody else who had outplayed him, in my opinion, already and proven
Sure.
that. But I like that that they took the approach that they did. I don't know, Chasen, any other information like you're saying whether or not that's true that it was calculated or not. But I like that the Niners are handling it the way that they are, and I think that
They're definitely sending a message to the team and anyone who comes here in the future. Like, if you dress, you're playing, and if you don't, there's going to be consequences.
yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I heard Sherman talking about that I thought was really interesting and insightful was just like by him dressing and then not playing, it screws over that other player who's working their tail off to try and get an active roster spot, which is more money. It's an opportunity, whether they play well and sign somewhere else or whatever. But that's not just like hurting yourself, it's hurting your team, but it's like you're hurting like so many other people, and it so screws over that guy who is going to be next up. And he was just saying how like wrong in that regard he felt like it was. So just wrong across the board, just a terrible thing, something I never thought like the Niners would have to deal with. Maybe the Jets or something, you know, like one of these really dysfunctional franchise. I didn't expect a Niner to have this issue. So
Well,
yeah, I'm also glad at the approach they're
I think
taking.
we talked about this a little bit last time too. That he obviously had issues with his previous stop, and
Yeah.
so it just yeah, better off that he's done with them now, and
Yeah.
glad we don't have to talk about him, anymore. But you know what I was thinking about? He, in a weird way, he did the team and Kyle especially kind of a big favor by taking all the heat after the Rams game. Like
Yeah,
now
I forgot.
nobody's really talking about. I mean, not there are still plenty of conversations about how lost season and what do you do next and blah blah blah. But like he has been the lightning rod for everything and sucking up all the attention and the energy. So it's kind of a weird like benefit to the rest of the team that now they can focus on something so galvanizing, and be able to rally around it, if you will. It'd be interesting to see like if they actually play better now.
yeah. No one's really talking about how the offense was abysmal and Purdy made one of the worst decisions of his life throwing that ball that got intercepted.
Yeah,
And Kyle didn't call a very good game or have a good game plan. In my opinion, no one's really talking about that. It's like, yeah, it's just kind of talking about how well that loss kind of ended the season, and that Devondre Campbell guy's a selfish jerk,
yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
and the offense is kind of skating. But to Jason's point too, I just guys like Tatum Bethune, who's a 7th round rookie for the Niners, like
Yeah,
Curtis Robinson, who I heard good things about during training camp, unfortunately tore his ACL early, so he was out. But Tatum Bethune looked pretty good in the preseason. He could have been out there on the field.
for
Jalen
sure.
Graham, who's been on the team for 2 years now, he could have been out there.
For sure.
And Devondre doing what he did took that opportunity from those guys. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's a ton of negative butterfly effects there. So I'd be shocked if Campbell played another snap in the NFL ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna be kind of
Persona non grata.
exactly.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's toxic, I think, at this point.
Yep. See you later,
But
buddy.
speaking of sending messages, I think it also for the team, uh, Ambry's timing was not so good with his tweet coming on the heels of that. But I know that was.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna mention next. What do you guys make of the Ambry Thomas getting waived? I don't have much of a reaction to it other than it's just another. I consider first, second, and third round draft picks to be like the premium draft picks. Obviously, the first are the most valuable, but I consider the first 3 rounds the most important. And Ambry was obviously a third round pick, and he's just another in the long list of premium draft picks of that was a whiff, and it's unfortunate.
Steven, you go first.
Well, my thought when I saw it was kind of like, bye, Felicia.
Whatever.
You know,
Yeah.
what it's not going to move the needle much. Like, he hasn't really done a whole lot. I had hopes for him, but yeah, just never really impressed, to be honest. I mean, he had maybe one little stretch, I feel like, towards the end of one season where he was,
2021.
yeah,
When he had that pick against the
he was
Rams.
kind of,
He lived off that moment for like 3 years.
yeah. But other than that, like, that was the only signs of promise. And much like Purdy has made the Lance situation so much better and easier to, stomach, if you want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Lenore has made it so much easier to,
Mm-hmm.
be okay with Ambry missing, because I think they were the same draft class.
Yeah, third round, and then Lenore was the 5th round pick.
Yeah. What's funny is every once in a while I feel like when John Lynch is talking about draft picks, he'll kind of mention like, oh yeah, Kyle really liked that guy. Like, he wants to let you know like that was a Kyle Shanahan guy, not a me guy. And Ambry was he was an Adam Peters guy.
Okay.
He said a couple times like Adam Peters really kind of pounded the table for Ambry Thomas. He really liked him.
Well,
So
he seemed like he had like good size, like all the
he was fast.
Yeah.
Like he was like one of the fastest players on the team.
All the measurables were there. It just couldn't put it together.
Yeah. And it's like, also, we have players that are better. Like, I don't know what else to say. We have young Renardo Green. Obviously, Mooney is going to be a free agent. We don't know what's going to happen there. But then Lenore. And I feel like there's other guys that I'm more excited about their potential for. Like, I know Darrell Luter's had some very unfortunate plays on special teams, but I feel like I've heard really good things about him at cornerback during training camp, stuff like that. So, like, there's just younger, more talented guys. That's just the NFL. I don't really like the entitlement. Same with Devondre Campbell. Same with what's his name? I just forgot his name, like mid-sentence.
Ambry Thomas.
Ambry Thomas. Same thing with Ambry Thomas.
He's a forgettable player.
Yeah. It's just like, why? I just don't.
Who are you?
Yeah. It's like, dude, the NFL is a super tough business, one I've never been in and don't understand, but like, just from everything that I've heard from the outside, like, extremely tough business. You got to grind. Like, there's got to be a little bit of luck, like, just all these things. And it's like, for you to just think you're like expected a roster spot or expected to play or anything like that, when all these other guys are playing well, our cornerbacks have played well. It's just crazy. I don't like the entitlement. So I'm glad to see him go. I didn't know he was that type of player. I guess he kind of showed his cards there and he's gone. So I'm happy about it.
Well, on a week in which the world is looking at your organization because of a player doing something that's extremely selfish, you think that's a good time to put yourself out there and say something that's selfish? Like, it just seems not smart.
Or poor awareness for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, so they're already showing and proving that we are punishing this other guy for conduct detrimental to the team, and you're gonna like, hey, let me get some of that, So it's like,
anyone else want to say anything? Yeah. And Ambry's like, actually, yeah, I do.
Yeah. But
okay, bye.
I guess he's just that fed up. So hey, good luck to you, man. I mean, it's just, it seems silly.
Is that like the new age way to get cut? Is that his agent being like, now, tweet out this, blah, 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 tweet this will get you cut? Is that what it is? Is it a calculated thing? Like, they just want to move on or whatever?
I'm sure there's stuff like that goes on. I don't know if that's what happened here. But yeah, maybe.
So the Niners had cleared him because he was on IR. and then they didn't activate him because they didn't need him. And then he tweeted his way off the team. And then the Colts actually signed him, and then he went and failed a physical. So he
Wow.
couldn't even play for them. So
The plot thickens. Wow.
yeah, a plot that I do not intend to follow.
I didn't even know that the Colts signed him, to be honest.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, the Colts like 49er rejects at corner. That Sam Womack's been playing really well over there. He's actually got a better PFF grade than Lenore.
Wow. Good for Sam.
Yeah, I like Womack.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish they would have found a way to keep him, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Womack,
Keller
from what I
Weathers put him in
remember,
some-
had like good ball skills. He could pick the ball, and
He had 2
he
picks
knew when
in
to
one
punch it out.
game in the
Yeah,
preseason.
it was a
I think against
preseason
the
game.
Packers or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. But I do agree with Chase, and I've heard some good things about Darrell Luter Jr. In the preseason and training camp. But on special teams, he seems like he's out of his element.
He's gonna have to do a lot to win me back, because I really think that play is the reason that the Niners lost the Super Bowl. Like that started the spiral.
He'll never be able to make up for that.
You don't think McCaffrey's fumble didn't start the spiral?
No, because that was the first drive, and they still got out to a double-digit
That's
lead.
the start of the spiral, though.
I mean, I guess, but they built a double-digit lead after McCaffrey's fumble, and then
could have been not a triple digit, 3 possession lead.
That didn't help. I'm not trying to say like, oh, that was no big deal, but the game changed after that play. Like, the Chiefs offense had done not much up to that point, and then you give them prime field position, they immediately go score a touchdown, and then it just changed like the way that the defense was playing against them from there on. Like, it just had a huge impact, because even if they don't score on that drive, they're getting the ball back. If they can string a few plays together, eat up more clock, like, no matter what, there's a lot of really tangible benefits. And it's like, just for not having, awareness of where you're at on the field and where the ball's coming, like, come on, dude, just seems pretty simple.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad for guys like that, who like running backs, DBs, who are far down on the depth chart, but they want to make the team so bad. So they're just like, yeah, I'll go play special teams, but it's probably not something they're used to doing. But it's the way that they can get on the field and dress and have pads on and get a game check. But they're also a little out of their element. And then they go out there and they make a big mistake. And it's just like, and in his mind, he's thinking, like, man, I'm a good corner. Put me on defense. But he's not a good enough corner to get on the field. So he's just got to play special teams. And, it's like an offensive lineman gets drafted who's played his entire college career at left tackle. And then you get drafted and they're like, we want you to play guard. And they're like, okay, I want to play in the NFL so bad. Yeah, I'll play guard. And then they struggle. And the team's like, man, they whiffed on this guy. It's like, well, he's playing out of position.
Yeah.
So I'll give him some grace. He's a young guy. Let's transition. I don't want to open talking about Ambry Thomas and Devondre Campbell. Bums. Let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins game. I want to talk about what you guys want to see from this team for the remainder of the season, which will also kind of blend into the Dolphins game because the Dolphins are next. So quick little injury updates. Isaac Guerrero and Trent Williams are out. Bosa and Greenlaw are questionable. And Robert Beal Jr. turned his ankle or something. He's questionable. And then for the Dolphins, Teron Armstead is questionable. I know he's a good player. And Jalen Waddle is doubtful. Bradley Chubb's questionable. Tyreek Hill questionable. And I don't really know or care about any of the other guys. So what do you guys want to see from this team for the remainder of the season? As far as, are you guys like tank for the draft pick? Do you want to see him go out there and win games regardless? Do you want to see the young guys play? Do you want to see Debo get back on track? I don't know. What do you guys want to see from this team for the rest of the season? Which, by the way, before we even do that, Jason, you were saying how you don't like the entitlement from Ambry and how he was tweeting about it. And Debo was tweeting. I'm okay with Debo tweeting, even though I didn't really like it. I understand why Debo's entitled. He's an all-pro. He's had huge successes. He's Like I get why a player like that shows frustration. When you're Ambry Thomas, like, bro, know your place, man. Like,
You're
even though I
already
was,
barely in the NFL.
yeah, you're hanging on by a thread here. Like, I get why Debo's frustrated. I do not get why Ambry's frustrated. So I just wanted to add that. But anyway, what do you guys want to see from this team for the last 3 games of the season?
I want to see, like, I want to feel better about Purdy getting a long-term contract extension.
Yeah, good answer.
There's nothing he can do at this point that's going to make me feel better about like his clutchness and in big games, because these aren't really big games anymore. Like, we're going to be eliminated from playoff contention like very shortly. Even if we like win out, there's still like very minimal chance we make it. So like, I just want to see him like playing better. And like I said, these aren't going to be big games, so he's not going to put that to bed. But I just want to see him get back to being himself and just, finding that balance of taking risks, but also protecting the ball, and just kind of getting back to maybe last year's Purdy, or just looking comfortable, looking like himself, looking confident. I just want to see Purdy kind of like settle down and have a nice end to the season, so he can go into this offseason, correct all the stuff he needs to correct, hopefully get that contract extension and come back, guns a-blazing for season 4. That's the biggest thing for me.
So before I throw it to you, Steven, I think if the Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams all lose out, the Niners win out, and the Washington Football Commandos also lose out, then I think the Niners can get in.
But it's impossible.
That's all they need.
It's impossible for them to lose out because the Seahawks and Rams play each other.
Yeah, so maybe not lose out. Maybe they just need the Seahawks to lose. They just need those 4 teams to lose as many games as possible.
Yeah.
And I know the Commanders, I like to call them the Commandos because I think that's a better name. And I also like football team better than Commanders, so I like to call them the Football Commandos. I think they have to lose out too.
Huh.
So yeah, the Niners aren't quite at 0. They're at like 0.5% chance.
So
So you're saying there's a chance?
Exactly.
I really like Chasen's answer. That wasn't where I was going to go, but I think his answer is better than mine. To answer one of your questions, I don't want them to tank, though. I don't feel like, even if they went out of their way to lose these last 3 games and like made it known, which they would never do, but made it known that we're looking for draft position, it's still not going to be that great. Like, best case scenario, they might get right around 10th. I mean, we talked about last time how many bad teams with bad records are in the league right now. So it's like there's really not going to be that big of a difference, in my opinion, between the 10th pick and the 16th pick, or wherever the heck they're going to end up. So go out there, put your best foot forward, make us fans feel good, play hard. What my answer was going to be, and is still going to be, is I want to see more development from the young guys. And we've been talking about that for a while, but like integrate them into the offense or defense more. Like, call some plays for Pearsall. Let's see what we got.
Yeah.
Same thing for Cowing.
Yeah.
Just who was it? Bosa who said, "We'll see who wants to be here." Let's do that. I like that. Let's see who wants to be here and who can actually be a part of the solution going into next season and beyond. So that's what I want to see. But I really like Jason's answer about, I want to feel better about Purdy. I'd like to see Brock play well. And then my other answer, which is going to be counterintuitive to what I just said about the young guys, feed George Kittle. Like, let's make him the focus of these last 3 games.
You can do both.
He deserves it. Yeah, you can integrate the young guys and still feed George, but let's officially declare him as the top pass catcher, pad his stats, get him that first team All-Pro that he already deserves, and just let him have a good end of the year. And George, please stay healthy. We need you next season.
Yeah, let him like really put a strong case forward for a Hall of Famer, because right now I think he can make a good case for it, but there's people that are going to say like, I don't know. If you get back-to-back first-team All-Pros at 29 and 30 years old, and he's kind of taken over as the best tight end in the league now. I think he's been there for a while, as far as I'm
Oh
concerned,
yeah,
since
Yeah.
2019, really. But people would obviously say, "Oh, Travis Kelce's that guy." Whatever, that's fine. Let him really kind of cement that Hall of Fame career and get another first-team All-Pro, and don't let, as we talked about, don't let
Brock.
Brock Bowers come in and steal it from him. I think Brock's really good. I like
How
Brock.
close is George to 1,000 yards this year?
I was just about to say that. Good timing.
Yeah, look that up, Jason.
50 catches, 861 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Before you react, let me also tell you Juwan Jennings, because he's not that far off either.
Ooh.
59 catches, so one less than Kittle, 805 yards,
Ooh.
and 6 touchdowns.
Get him that 1,000. I would love.
I know.
Okay, so Kittle needs about 150 yards over 3 games. That's 50 yards a game. That's easy money. That's 4 or 5 catches a game.
And the Dolphins,
George can do that.
The Dolphins don't have a very good D. At least that's my understanding. I haven't looked up their ranks or anything, but
They do have a good secondary.
do they? Well,
do they?
How are their?
Yeah, they're actually one of the best pass defenses in the league.
How are their linebackers at covering tight ends?
Doesn't matter. George Kittle's the best.
So
I think it's like their corners that are good. They got Jalen Ramsey who's still playing well.
So feed George, get him over 100 in this game, so then he can just cruise into that 1,000-yard season. But
yeah, you don't have to stop at 1,000. We can get 1,100.
Right, exactly. I mean, if he can finish with 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns, I feel like because he's already got the name, because he does the blocking, everybody knows how good he is all around. I think that that's going to be real hard to say no. And to your point, Ryan, I think that also bolsters like a Hall of Fame case, like, oh, another season of 1,000 yards with double-digit touchdowns. Like, those numbers matter to voters.
Oh yeah. I think George right now is already at a career high in touchdowns for a season at 8, I think. Because he's never been a big touchdown guy. He's always been a great player, yards and blocking, but touchdowns, his career high might have been like 6.
All right, so Brock Purdy, every time you're thinking about throwing to Debo, throw it to George instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and don't throw it and then find George. And man, if Juwan could get 1,000 yards, how cool would that be too? Because he had 19 catches last season, I think, in total. And then to come in and have would you say he was at, Jason? 50?
He has
catches?
59 catches, one below Kittle for 805 yards and 6 touchdowns.
So hopefully he'll finish with 70 plus catches. Hopefully they can get him the ball, at least.
Yeah, I mean, 75 catches is well within reach for him.
Yeah. So if he could do that, like get in the 70s and just climb over 1,000, I mean, I would love that.
That would be really cool. That would be really cool for Juwan.
Yeah.
I wonder, that's kind of make me thinking so you've got Ricky Pearsall. You got Ayuk coming back. You're not sure how he's going to come back. If Juwan's balling like this and he's under contract for the next year, obviously I would just want him back to be a Niner, but would teams come calling like, hey, we want that number 15 guy? And given that the Niners need draft picks, would they consider trading him?
I hope not.
I mean, I don't,
because he's gonna. From his perspective, he's playing for like $5 million this year and maybe $7 million next year or something. He could say, "Look, man, I just had 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
that's a $20 million wide receiver."
No, you're right, but people know that. Yeah, you just had 1,000 yards because the number one receiver was missed, more than half the year, and then the number 2 receiver is getting old before our eyes, and so they, it's. I don't think.
But maybe he says then, well, I don't want to get relegated back to my number 3 role.
Sure,
I want to maintain my number 1 or number 2 role at worst, or send me to a team who will make me a number 1 or a 2.
I think he will be the number 2 on the Niners, and I guess what I was kind of trying to say was I don't know that he's going to be a number 2 very many other places.
What about the Bengals let T. Higgins walk and they bring in Juwan?
That would be amazing for them. They would be super smart to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Obviously, I just want Juwan to be a Niner.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But, you know, a lot of this offseason conversation will be about how do the Niners acquire as much draft capital as possible because they need it. So guys like Juwan or a restricted free agent like Jordan Mason, does the team come calling for him?
So, with that in mind, would it be good to actually try to feed Debo and build up his trade value these last few games, or do you think it's
I
enough?
feel like it's too late for Debo. If Debo has like 2 or 3 good games in the season, like, are we all just going to pretend like the first 14 games didn't exist?
Well, there could be a narrative about, oh, he was dealing with an injury and he finally got healthy, or what? Who knows? But there's always a way to spin it, and he does still have the name value. Not everybody's watching them as closely as we are. Like, yeah, they might see the primetime games, but they're not all like.
But you're talking about fans. Like NFL GMs are watching every snap of Debo before they trade for him.
For sure, but I do think that there's still. I mean, the Chiefs just went and signed DeAndre Hopkins this year, and I feel like he's way more washed than Debo. So like teams they're not going to give us a first round pick or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But
I'd sell him for a fifth.
but I'm like they might be able. I mean, the Cowboys gave what, a third or a fourth for Trey Lance? Like,
Fourth.
there's going to
Yeah,
be
that's crazy.
somebody out there that wants him for, oh, he's going to bring in veteran leadership, and he's exciting, and he's going to be somebody who
You're
gets
gonna sell jerseys.
gets the jersey
Owners
sold,
love
get the
that.
fans going. Yeah, like I think that he would still have a market. It just wouldn't be what you would have expected it to be like a year or two ago.
It's gonna be the Jaguars or the Raiders or something like that.
I mean, think about, like, Vegas would be a great place for him.
I could totally see Debo in a Raider jersey. You know who else would be a good if I'm Debo, where I would want to go if I'm leaving, is either Baltimore or the LA Chargers. Like if I'm Debo, I'll go play for Jim Harbaugh, and I'll go add to that run game with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
I think
I bet
Baltimore.
either Harbaugh brother, I bet would
It's
be interested in
I think
Debo.
Baltimore is a great call, but I don't think he's gonna. You might like it, like you say, if you're Debo, you go there because you're assuming that his focus would be to do well, right, and have an opportunity to go play for a contender, which I do think he would want. I don't think he would get the ball very much in Baltimore. I think
That might work in his favor though.
it might. Do you think he's going to think that?
No, of course not. Yeah, no.
What do you want, Ryan, for the rest of the season or this game?
Well, so I'm very much against tanking. I think bad teams intentionally tank. Tanking is for the NBA, not for the NFL. I mean, remember the Eagles a couple years ago when they put Nate Sudfeld in for the fourth quarter of the final game of the year, and everyone was like, "Tanking, you freaking losers!" That was kind of funny, but like it just doesn't really happen in the NFL. Although the Cleveland Browns just benched Jameis Winston for
Yeah.
Dorius Thompson
Yeah,
Robinson.
but Jameis
Yeah.
has also thrown like 82 picks in the last 4 games or something, and
but he could throw 400 yards and 4
sure,
touchdowns at any
and
moment.
lose the game for you. Yeah,
That's true. So like you don't even have to sub Jameis Winston out. You can just play him and lose. But they want to play the young guy. That's
yeah.
fine.
I don't think that's tanking. I think that's seeing what you got in your young guy. I know it can go hand in hand, but I do really think that is more valuable and important to the Cleveland Browns because they're probably not going to keep Deshaun Watson, right? So let's.
I think they are. They kind of have to at least one more season.
I guess he's got guaranteed money, huh? Man,
his whole damn contract was guaranteed. What a disaster!
Yeah.
Yes. Is that the worst signing ever?
Crazy.
Anyways,
It has to be.
yeah.
I would say yes. Without even doing much research, I think I can confidently say that's the worst contract ever given to any player in the history of the
The
NFL.
only one that like rivals it to me is Jamarcus Russell for the Raiders because that was before they had the rookie like wage scale, and so he got paid a ton of money and like never did anything. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, like when Sam Bradford didn't he get like $100 million coming out of college?
Sam at least tried. Like he at least had some promise. He just kept getting hurt. But Jamarcus Russell, oh man, that was just a bad. bad situation.
Is Matt Stafford, was he the number one pick with the same? That was Sam Bradford's class, right?
No, they were different years because they were both number one
They
overall
were.
picks.
Oh, Bradford was the number one. Okay.
Yeah.
Was he before or after Stafford?
I'm going to say
Can't
before,
remember.
but I'm not totally confident. But I think Bradford came before.
Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah, I listened to this guy John Middlecoff, who just does kind of like general an NFL show, and he's from California. He used to do a Niners show out here with Guy Haberman, who I've mentioned on here before. They used to do a show together. But Middlecoff used to be a scout in the NFL for the Eagles. He worked with Andy Reid, and he knows people with the Niners. He knows people all over the NFL. So I like his content. I kind of trust his opinion, and he's been talking about this upcoming draft class, about what he's hearing, and he's basically saying that scouts and GMs are saying that having the sixth pick in this draft is no different than having the 16th pick in this draft. There isn't like a top, 8, 10 players where there's like premier talent and then a drop off. It's just kind of a bunch of there isn't like, Jamar Chase's and I
Nick
don't know.
Bosa's
Nick
slam dunks.
Bosa's and guys like that. So I don't want to see the Niners start playing for draft picks. I've seen the Niners blow the second overall pick. I've seen them blow the third overall pick. I've seen them blow the 31st pick. I don't care where they're drafting in the first round. So I want to see them go out and beat the Dolphins and beat the Lions. Just even in a lost season, let the Lions know, like, yeah, you're going to the playoffs and we're not. We're still your daddy. And I know you're a new player in this NFC, but when we get back into the postseason next year, you are not a threat to us, even though, as much as you like to think so. So I want to see that, and of course, just beat the Cardinals. I don't want to. I hate losing to the Cardinals because to me they're the worst team in the division, in my opinion. So yeah, you don't want to establish that losing culture where it's like, oh, as soon as we're out of the postseason, we just go in the tank and we just give up. That's not what a winning team does, or a winning coach, or a winning culture. So I want to see this team fight. That being said, I like Steven. I want to see some of the young guys get involved. I want to see Ricky Pearsall get some more targets.
Yeah.
Could you get Jacob Cowing on the field a little bit?
Yeah.
I can't really think of any other guys other than the wide receivers. I mean, I would like Garendo, but he's banged up. So
Yeah.
can we get Izzy Abanikanda some touches? How's he coming along? I can't really think of any other young. Ronaldo Green is playing. Malik Mustafa's
That's the
playing. These
thing.
guys
Yeah.
are playing. So yeah. Just keep fighting and keep winning if you can. That's where I'm at.
Who are our backup linebackers right now? So Fred and Drea are expected to play. Awesome. Best in the league. And then Campbell's gone now. So is D healthy enough to play? Are we bringing up that Tatum guy, Bethune, or like who's our backup linebackers?
Didn't Flanagan Fowles get hurt too in the last game? Or
Yeah, he was. That's another thing about Campbell, man. Like Flanagan Fowles is out there limping around on a bad knee because he can't come off the field because he doesn't have anyone to go in for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Flanagan Fowles, D Winters, Jalen Graham's on the practice squad. I thought Jalen Graham looked pretty good in the preseason. He kind of flies around and throws his body around recklessly. He did have that one play. I think it was the first game against the Seahawks. Did they have a kick return for a touchdown in that first Seahawks game, or was that last season? I can't remember that point, but Jalen Graham was on kickoff and he came flying in and just like threw a shoulder into the guy and didn't wrap up, and the returner just bounced off and ran for a touchdown. I was like, come on, Graham, you're a linebacker. You should know to wrap up. But yeah, those are the backup linebackers.
Cuckoo.
And Tatum Bethune, I thought kind of flashed in the preseason. He was a 7th round rookie this year, but I'm not even totally sure if he's healthy. If he is, he should be dressed.
Yeah. I want to see him play.
So, Kyle Shanahan versus Mike McDaniel. These guys are sneaky rivals, I think. Kyle says a lot of nice things about Mike. Mike says a lot of nice things about Kyle generally, but Mike's also had some what I would say snarky comments in the past about he thinks that Kyle kind of kept him hidden and didn't give him opportunities to maybe get a maybe I'm guessing Mike thinks he could have been a head coach earlier, and Kyle was maybe getting a little more credit than he deserved for some of the offensive schemes and plays and whatever. And Mike has kind of voiced in the past that he feels like Kyle kind of held him down a little bit. So I think this. I think Mike McDaniel wants to win this game really, really bad. I think Mike's also possibly coaching for his job. Miami might be thinking about moving on. I'm not sure. Don't follow or care about the Dolphins in the least bit. But what do you guys think about this matchup? Are the Niners? I think the Niners are half-point favorites, or it's like an even game. Do you guys expect them to handle business, or is this going to be a tough fought game?
For two teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, I think both teams are going to be fighting hard. I
Mm-hmm.
think both coaches definitely want to win. And I think a lot of the players really want to win too, like for their coaches. I mean, even like Wes Welker's on the Dolphins staff still, I believe. I don't pay
Yeah.
attention enough to know, but I think he is. So, yeah, I think that this is actually going to be a really hard fought game. Are we doing our predictions? Do you want me to do my prediction right now?
Sure.
I'm going to say Niners win. What was it? I was thinking about it earlier. It was, I'm going to say Niners win 34-27. That's my score prediction.
Whoa. So Kittle's going for like 152 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
Let me look at the Miami weather real quick just to make sure. Because I predicted Niners 31, Rams 30. And then I saw the rain and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not even going to get close to that. Although I still wouldn't have predicted 12-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while you're looking stuff up, I guess I can go. So I think that,
Of course, it's 73 degrees.
yeah, I thought I had heard earlier this week that it was going to be nice, which I think benefits both those teams, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly should help Brock. I don't know how to separate what I want to see versus what I expect to see, because I feel like, it kind of influences whatever, but I expect and want to see the offense look good and play well. Like Chasen's score doesn't totally shock me because I think it's going to be good weather. They've got motivation. They're going to, I didn't know that the pass D for the Dolphins was so good, but I thought the Dolphins defense could be scored on. I thought that I've seen, big numbers against them. And so I was expecting more of an offensive game. So that's what I want to see. That's what I expect to see. I think the Niners should win. I'll go a little more conservative than Chasen. I'll go 27 to 19 Niners.
Okay. And I looked it up real quick before you go, Ryan. I looked it up, and the Dolphins pass defense, yeah, I didn't know they were that good either. They are the number Okay, they're the number 8 pass defense in the league, and they're the number 6 defense in total yards. Wow. I did not know that they had a good defense or an above average defense, so that's kind of surprising.
I'm pretty sure the Niners are high on the total yards list, though, as well.
Yeah, they're third.
And you've watched them all season. Do you feel like that the Niners have the third ranked defense in the NFL?
No.
So, grain of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do play the Jets and the Patriots twice a year, but then probably playing the Bills kind of makes up for that.
Yeah, I feel like the Dolphins kind of play the Jets tough, at least recently, but they also don't ever win those games. I don't totally know what to expect from this game. I would like to see, kind of to what Jason was talking about earlier, I would like to see Purdy play well, because I think Purdy's getting paid this offseason. How much, I don't know, but my guess is somewhere between 50 and 60 a year. And when that contract comes through, because I don't think it's an if, I think it's a when, I would like to feel good about it and to finish the season on a high note, to get George his all pro and to get Juwan over 1,000 and to, to say, hey, in the last 3 games of the season, Purdy completed 70% of his passes and he scored 10 touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over. That would be sweet. So I would like to see Purdy, who's not going to have much of a run game because we're so depleted at the position. Obviously, we know Ayuk is out and Debo's not playing well. I want to see Purdy put the team on his back and carry this team to a win on Sunday. And as far as a score, geez, I don't know. I honestly hadn't even thought about it much. I kind of like Steven's score. What'd you say?
27-19.
Oh, that's funny. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, I'll say like 24-17 or something like that. Niners are going to win. I don't think the Dolphins are that good. I think they're probably a little overrated on defense. I would love to see Debo have a big play against Jalen Ramsey again, break a tackle. I haven't seen Debo break a tackle all season, but this would be the game to do it. But yeah, feed Kittle, feed Juwan, have Debo touch the ball a couple times, get Ricky Pearsall involved. Like, in order for those things to happen, Brock has to play well. He's got to distribute the ball. He's got to be accurate. He's got to make good decisions. All that stuff. So
is Patrick Taylor the starting running back now?
Kyle was asked that question, and he said probably.
Okay.
He didn't want to really tip his hand, but he said probably.
I feel like it'll be Taylor and Keyshawn Vaughn, it seems like, both mixed in.
I was really hoping someone would ask him, like, hey, how's Israel Abanikanda coming along? But
yeah.
But they didn't.
You should have been there. You could have asked the question.
I know.
I should have get your credential.
Maybe next year or the year after.
Maybe. That would be fun. I know people that just, 49er content creators and cover the team in various ways do have credentials.
Oh, yeah.
So I have no idea how that process works.
We will eventually.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
All three of us sitting there in our 49er Santa hats. Yeah. Like, how's the 7th string running back coming along?
That's right. Nobody else brings you that kind of content.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to ask you about Brock Purdy's contract. Call on me, Kyle.
Yeah.
Can I give 2 things that I'm excited to see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please.
For this game? It's 2 players. One is on the Niners, one's on the Dolphins.
Okay.
The one on the Niners is Drake Greenlaw, obviously. I hope he freaking stays healthy the rest of the season, and I just can't wait to watch him play. He is so much fun to watch play. I cannot wait to see him and Fred running around, smacking dudes, smacking Raheem Mostert.
That's what I was going to say.
Smacking Tua. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun to watch him play. So I just hope he stays healthy, all that. Can't wait to watch Dre play. The other player, which I know is probably blasphemous to say, but I have a veteran man crush on this player. You guys know that. It's Calais Campbell. Yes. I want you guys to watch Calais Campbell and tell me if you're impressed with his disruption, his ability in the run game and the pass game. He's number 93 because I want the Niners to sign him in the offseason. So just watch big number 93.
It's funny hearing you talk about him like he's this young up and coming.
Right. I was going to say, I am impressed by Calais Campbell because of...
dude's a Hall of Famer.
Because of who he is and how long he's done it. But, are you saying you want us to be impressed that he's still doing it at his age? Or are you saying that...
Yes.
Okay.
That, and I want you guys to jump on the bandwagon that he needs to be a Niner next year with me.
We need youth, man. We don't need any more vets.
Yeah, we had this conversation a couple of weeks at the trade deadline, I think, when we were talking about who the Niners should go get. And I said, I like the idea of going and getting Calais Campbell. Yeah. But when it comes to the offseason, that time has passed. Now it's time to go draft somebody.
He's going to be cheap. He's still super disruptive.
I mean, hey, if he comes in and plays for a vet minimum type deal for 1 year, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
He's on a 1 year, $2 million contract right now. And he's one of the highest graded interior.
I would take that in a heartbeat.
That's an easy decision. Yeah, exactly. I thought you were talking about we got to go get him and make him a priority. But yeah, if he chose to come to the Niners for something like that, sure. Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. All right.
See, the only veteran D lineman that I want to be talking about coming to the Niners wears 99. Other than that guy, we need youth.
Is he a free agent next year?
I think he's got 1 more year.
Ah,
I don't know that.
Did he sign a 5-year deal?
I don't know.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up.
For those listening who don't know, we are talking about the one and only DeForest
Of
Buckner.
course, yes. I mean,
He signed a 4-year.
It was a 4-year? Okay, so they traded
Yeah.
him after the 19 Super Bowl, so that would have been
yeah, but if
2020.
it was a 4-year extension and he was still
He signed
under,
another extension, a 2-year,
Yeah.
$46 million extension. Just
worth
kinda
every
wins
penny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw, I think earlier this season, I think he actually went on IR, and I thought, oh my God, he does get hurt. That's crazy. Because he was
He's
the Iron Man for the Niners, and I bet he was for the Colts for years too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just signed a 2-year extension. He won't be a free agent till 2027.
Why would he go and do such a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
That's a
it?
shame.
I know. My dream is just going to remain a dream, I'm sure, but yeah, it would be awesome.
See, one of the reasons why it sucked getting rid of Buckner wasn't just because he was a really good player at an important position, but he was like the embodiment of like the 49er culture. Like that's what you want in your 49er. That's why I think it's going to be so important for the Niners to re-sign Dre Greenlaw, because
Yeah.
he's that guy now for the defense. I know Fred is like Captain Fred, but the heart and the violence in the defense is Dre.
Yeah, it seems like Fred's the brain and Dre's the heart.
Dre's the right and left hand.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Kyle
He's
called
Mike
him
Tyson.
Mike Tyson, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Nick is the abs. He's
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nick's
Ron
just the
Bracey.
muscle, and
Yeah.
and Lenore's the mouth.
Heck yeah.
When I just Googled DeForest Buckner, the first picture that came up is it's him in a Niner jersey. It wasn't in the Colts.
Yeah.
Funny.
Well, I wish. Yeah, man, it still just sucks thinking about it, because if the Niners had kept him and then he goes to the Colts at like the end of his career for 2 or 3 years or something, he could be one of those like, forever Niners, and he comes back after he retires. But like, he only spent 40 years there. He's going to be a Colt longer than a Niner. Like, is he going to be one of those like beloved? I know the fans love him, but he's not going to have that like 8 to 10 year tenure where, I don't know. He's not going to be in the Niners Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor or anything like that.
Yeah, it is kind of a bummer. I don't know.
Especially when they drafted Kinlaw as his
So that was
replacement that year.
was his replacement, but
Yeah.
And they even put him in 99 too. Poor Kinlaw.
I'm sure.
I wonder if he chose 99 or if they're
I'm
like,
sure he chose it, at least of the available options.
that's probably poor awareness on him though. I would have been like, yeah, give me any other number.
Right.
Has Eric Armstead been any good with the Jaguars this season? Does anybody know?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know, and I don't even. I'm sorry to say, I don't care.
Right.
I liked Armstead because he was a local guy from Elk Grove, and but he was injured in the early parts of his career. That when they drafted Bosa and signed D Ford, and they had like 3 really good players around him. When he was the 4th best defensive lineman on the line, then he was awesome, and the defensive line was awesome. But if he was ever had to be like the 3rd, or God forbid, the 2nd best player in your D line, you were in trouble, in my opinion.
I'm reading this article. They said he's playing less than half of their team's defensive snaps. That seems pretty strange for a guy making $17 million a year.
Yeah, he's probably at this point become a rotational guy. He's probably dealing with injuries, so they're trying to manage that. The Niners were probably right to move on from him, and credit to him for going to a state that doesn't tax the crap out of you and getting a bunch more money. So, good on Eric.
They also said he's playing outside more often, like defensive end. And
we've seen that.
He used to do that. Doesn't seem like where you want him, but
no.
And he has 1 sack this season.
Hopefully he rubbed his belly good on that one.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Should we do a little hypothetical question here and then we'll end it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did the one a couple weeks ago of Jawan Jennings versus Michael Crabtree. Both guys wear number 15, which is why those two are linked. That's the only reason. The same position, I guess. In a big game like a Super Bowl, who do you want and why? So maybe I'll do this. We'll do this like I don't know about once a week, but we'll do this once in a while. I'll try to find some like Niner legends who wore the same number as someone. It's gonna be tough though with like
some are like the real obvious ones. Nobody else wore that number.
like even though 21's not retired, no one's wearing 21.
Yeah, I mean the only other 21 you could really think about would be Dion, and that was 1 year, so it's not really a fair comparison.
Yeah. In
I
fact,
think
this might just be a that might end after
I
this.
think Eric
What
Wright.
about 97?
Eric Wright actually wore 21 back in the day, and he was pretty good, but not like Frank.
97 and 74 might be
Ooh,
a good one.
all right.
I'll have to look into those. But today we're doing number 85. Tight end, and shoot. I'm Steven, you might even be able to tell me, was there an 85 before Vernon? That because the Niners have had some good tight ends like Brent Jones, but I
Brent
don't know.
Jones was
I
number
can't remember.
84, so they did have 85s. Like
Okay.
Greg Clark, when he was there, wore number 85. He wasn't like a stud or anything, but he was good. He was fine. So yeah, it's not like he's the first 85, or these are the only 85s, but nobody else that I can think of that's like, a stud or was like a Pro Bowl caliber player. Now maybe it goes before my time that I'm forgetting, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, nobody else really stands out like that I think Eric Johnson, because he had a couple good years. I think he was 82. I don't think he was 85, but I'm not positive about that.
All right. Well, big game, Super Bowl. You need a tight end on the field, number 85. Vernon Davis, George Kittle, both excellent players. I've heard both guys talk about each other, and they're both very complimentary and have a ton of respect for each other's game. Similar skill sets, but Vernon, I would say, definitely the more explosive, faster player. George probably has an edge in blocking, but both guys, you get the ball in their hands and they're dangerous for different reasons, but both guys super, super dangerous with the ball in their hands. Who do you guys want on the field in the Super Bowl for the Niners?
Can I ask
Vernon or
Can I ask
George?
a clarifying question?
Yeah.
We're assuming that this is them at their peak, right? Like each guy at
No, it's today. So Vernon's like 40
yeah.
something.
Hey,
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, both.
Vernon still looks
This is
pretty dang good, though. I feel like he could still run around out there. But anyway,
well, he's acting. He's in movies and
Is he?
stuff, so I'm sure
Oh,
he keeps
wow.
himself in shape. He was just in a movie a year or two ago with Morgan Freeman. He was a serial
oh
killer.
wow, I didn't know that.
Oh my
And Morgan
God.
Freeman was like maybe a cop or something trying to, hunt him down or whatever. But and he's like a really good artist. I've seen him painting and stuff. Yeah, Vernon is an artist on and off the field.
So peak
Yeah, he's
peak
a unique
Vernon
guy.
versus peak Kittle.
I'll let
Yep.
you guys go first.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Shoot, it's tough. It's tough for me. So I'm gonna take George, and I think I kind of give when it comes to the receiving threats. I think George is a slightly better route runner. I think Vernon is a better deep threat. I think George has more trustworthy hands. He's not gonna, jump to catch the ball like Vernon. And I think both guys are really, really dangerous with the ball in their hands. Vernon, because he's just fast as hell and he'll just fly up the sideline or up the seam and just run by everybody. And George in 2018 could do that, but nowadays not so much. But George will just rumble and run through guys and stiff arm guys and break all the tackles. That play against the Saints in overtime, he's got those little DBs jumping on his back like kids trying to tackle their dad or something. They just could not get him down.
George Kittle's possum babies, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the main reason why I'm going to take George, because I think both guys are excellent with the ball in their hands, is I think to win a Super Bowl, I think you really, especially on the 49ers, both Jim Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan's teams, you got to run the ball. And I want George in line blocking to run the ball. I want him pancaking edge rushers and taking on linebackers and shoving DBs to the ground in the run game. And I know Vernon's a good blocker, but I think George is a better blocker who grew up with a dad who played offensive line, teaching George how to block. He comes from tight end university, as he likes to say, University of Iowa. I think George just has a little better blocking pedigree. He can also pass protect, which I don't like that he's good at that because the 49ers ask him to do it.
Yeah.
They'll put him in the backfield. They'll have him drop in pass sets, and he's good at it. But I wish they would just put him on, in a pattern and run around and catch the ball. So I'm going to take George because I give him an edge as an inline blocker. But obviously, I'd be happy to have either guy.
So I'd like to go next, Chasen. You can be the tiebreaker because I'm going Vernon.
Whoa.
And I'm going Vernon because of how you asked the question. You said one game. One big game. Who do you want? And I love both guys. I have the jersey for both guys hanging in my closet. If you were to ask who do I think is the better all-around player, I would say George Kittle. If you were to ask me who is my higher on my list of favorite all-time Niners, it's probably George Kittle, but not by much. But I love Vernon too, and I have not forgotten how good he was and everything he's done. And I just feel like Vernon came through time and again in big games. He was the leading receiver when they were making their playoff runs under Jim Harbaugh. In his one Super Bowl, he had, I think, like 120 yards receiving in that game. I don't think George has gotten that total in both of his Super Bowls combined.
No, he's been really quiet receiving in the Super Bowls, unfortunately, which I blame Kyle, not
sure,
George.
but come on, like one game, you ask the question, and,
Yeah, no, I know.
and just that play against the Saints in the playoffs.
He's got a catch, the catch for the Niners.
He's got the
He's
catch
got
three.
one.
Yeah, Owens is the
Mm-hmm.
catch two, and Vernon is the catch three. And I feel like you said it. He's more explosive, and that is going to be more beneficial. I feel like in a big game, at any point, he could break it. I know George can do it too. I'm not saying that like he's incapable, and I agree with you that like I'd be happy to have either one. But one game, you tell me I get a guy at their peak, and I have to pick one between the two of them. I'm gonna go Vernon, and I'm glad that you said something about his blocking because I think that he is an underrated blocker, and I think he didn't get the credit that he deserved because of the fact that he was thought of more as a receiver. He had that athleticism, and because the Niners needed him to be their number one receiver for a couple of those years when they were really good and getting all the public shine or whatever. So anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised by myself, but as I think through it more, I feel like the answer's clear for me. One game, I'm going Vernon Davis.
I don't think you can go wrong picking either guy, honestly. It just kind of depends on maybe the style of offense you want to play. Vernon did have 2 seasons in his career where he had 13 touchdowns, and George has never broken double digits. Before you go, Jason, I'll just hit you with some Vernon Davis stats in the Super Bowl. He had 6 catches for 104 yards. But he was not the leading receiver that day. Do you know who was?
Hopefully not Crabtree.
I think it was Crabtree.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
5 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown.
But you know who had more scrimmage yards than both of them, I'm pretty sure, in that game?
Frank Kaepernick?
I think Frank had like 120-something yards, or I don't know.
110 yards. He beat Crabtree by 1 yard.
All right.
You remember when Frank Gore scored in the end zone right where we were and how hyped that was in the Super Bowl?
That was amazing.
And that we had that guy sitting next to us who was just going ballistic.
Ready to spontaneously combust. He was so excited. Yeah.
We had the whole section of Ravens fans and then just the 2 Niner fans right in front of us. Yeah, those guys were I bet Frank heard those guys. They were screaming so loud.
That was awesome.
Up until the end of the game when we didn't end up winning, that stretch of time was like a fever dream. It was like
exactly.
It was crazy.
Yep.
All right.
Randy
So
Moss had 2
and-
catches in that game too.
And he was the reason that we threw a pick because he went alligator arms. Speaking, 2 really quick things. I was thinking about how Brock struggles in the rain and cold and snow. You know who didn't and who was great in cold weather while he was in the NFL and really good was Kaepernick. He
Kaepernick,
always played good against the Packers. He always played good in the cold weather.
because he had
And
a
then-
friggin' hose.
Yeah.
That
And he would always wear like he would just short sleeve or whatever, and they always made a big deal about that.
and because he could run too, so he could rely on
Yeah,
that.
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
One of
That
these days, we'll have to watch the highlights of that Packer game in the snow of him just running like crazy.
Didn't he have 183?
That was the
rushing
home
yards?
game. That was the one they played in
Yeah.
San Francisco.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think he is right.
The one where he went nuts was a home game, but then I think the next year he still had a good game. It just, it wasn't like the crazy yardage totals. But yeah, that was,
I know Jason's right on the 183 yards rushing.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
but
insane.
the sleeveless game, that like I remember he made some plays with his feet in that one too. It just wasn't big yardage totals.
Who was it that kicked the game-winning field goal for us when we won that one? It was like a close game.
Probably would have been
I don't
Akers
know.
at that time.
David Akers, probably.
Yeah, I think so. You know what's crazy about Vernon's peak, or maybe it was towards the end of it, but he had such a good, what do I want to say, like a Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan and Delaney Walker.
Oh, heck yeah.
We had Delaney Walker and Vernon, and they were both studs for a period of time. We've never had that with Kittle. We've never had a good second tight end. So, drum roll, dun 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 dun. George Kittle. Sorry,
That's
Steven.
all right.
I feel like I was a little young to really like appreciate Vernon in his prime. So I could have some recency bias, but I just think George Kittle is one of the greatest tight ends of all time. I think he's a freaky man. He can block. He could do it all. He's more well-rounded. And if we get prime Kittle, like if Ryan, what you were talking about, like 2018 Kittle, like damn, he was pretty fast then too. So I'm just gonna take Kittle because he's more well-rounded. I think he brings a little bit more to the table, multi-dimensional, whatever you want to call it. It's super, super close. I genuinely went back and forth in my brain while you guys were giving your answers, but I'm gonna give the edge to Kittle.
There's no wrong.
Here's my George Kittle drop.
Nope.
Sounds like football, baby.
There's no wrong answer. They're both excellent choices.
Yeah.
You know, Vernon scored a touchdown on his first touch in the NFL.
Did he?
Against the Cardinals, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I saw his career game was against the Cardinals, like 183 yards.
I remember watching there was like a funny story because he was a rookie and he was this high pick. And so there was a lot of like hope and everything. And I guess he'd been pretty quiet, like didn't say much. And then that play happened. And it wasn't like right at the beginning of the game. I think it was like, maybe second quarter, a little bit in the game. They throw just a simple little like out pass to him, not very far, and he just turned upfield and outran guys and scored a touchdown. And after that, I guess he came over to the sideline. He was just freaking out, just screaming, yelling, yeah, all hyped up. And everyone's like, who is this guy? He's been quiet all off season.
He's got to be one of the fastest tight ends like of all time, right? I remember that.
Yeah.
He was unbelievably fast.
You talking about George being fast, 2018 peak George. I'll still take Vernon in a foot race.
Oh,
no question. No question. George,
a freak athlete. He could jump too. Like he was a freak of an athlete.
George, for a fast tight end, is like 4.5 40 time.
Yeah.
Vernon was in the 4.3s.
Yeah.
Like premier running backs don't even run in the 4.3s.
Yeah.
Vernon was insane. They remember that show Sports Science?
Yes.
With John Brinkus. They did an episode on Vernon Davis and they timed him and did all that crazy stuff. Yeah, he was insane athlete. Like what? Where did the Niners draft him? Like
number
what
six,
pick
number
was he?
6, I think, right?
6?
Number 6 overall. I just looked it up,
Yeah. Man, imagine drafting.
He may have been the highest that a tight end had gone up to that point. I don't know that for sure, but I know that it was like, wow, that's a really premium pick to use on a tight end. Anyways, yeah, he was awesome. And you talked about him 2 different seasons. catching 13 touchdowns. That was with 2 different quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts currently is the high. Obviously, he's
I was gonna bring up
super
Kyle
recent,
Pitts.
but yeah, he was the number 4
Kyle
pick.
Pitts wishes he was Vernon Davis, man.
Oh yeah, Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts wishes he was Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Delaney was so good.
he was.
You know, because as soon as he went to the Titans, he was just like, "Oh, this is one of the best tight ends in the NFL." All of a sudden,
Yep.
yeah, man, good times.
Good debate though. I like that one. It was
That was a good
and
one.
like
I'll have to keep doing a little research and find some more. Like I said, 97 and 74 might be a good one.
there might be some good 94s too.
Okay,
I mean,
I bet 99 might have a decent
Charles
one.
Haley wore 94. I think Dana Stubblefield wore 94. There might even be, I mean, Justin Smith wore 94. So, there's some guys right there just off the top of my head, but there's probably some other good numbers out there.
I have a quick Delaney stat before we move on from Delaney. Or not Delaney, Vernon. So Kyle Pitts did overtake Vernon for the number 1 highest drafted tight end. But Vernon's actually tied for second with Kellen Winslow in 2004.
Oh,
Drafted number 6 as well. And then right after them is TJ Hawkinson at number 8 overall.
Okay.
And then it goes kind of down the list from there. So yeah, he's tied for second with Kellen Winslow Jr.
I'm obviously
I
biased.
did not know Hawkinson was drafted that high.
Yeah, number 8.
Yeah, see, I'm obviously biased, and I know Hawkinson still has a lot of years ahead of him, or hopefully if he can stay healthy, but I'll take Vernon over all those guys that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hawkinson's really good, but he's not like a blocker or a premier athlete like Vernon. No way.
Right after Hawkinson is Eric Ebron. So the Lions have done it twice. He was the number 10th overall pick in 2014.
He was okay. But
Yeah.
That was a bad pick.
Yeah.
I remember Kellen Winslow. He was solid.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Overdrafted.
He was a wide.
Vernon was probably the only guy on that whole list who you were like, all right, that was a good pick.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
good talk.
We went real long, but good stuff.
Yeah. We'll end it there. We'll watch Niners on Sunday, and we'll come back and react to it either Sunday or Monday.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.